It's already day 3, and that's fast. Okay, cool. Amazing. So, yay, we will start the session with me. And I'm very happy to see all of you back here in AP. It's been a while that I didn't talk to you for a while, and I'm surprised that Isu is already somewhere, another part of the world. Okay, Karan, don't make any drama. So for today, we are going to talk about my entity battles. So this session will be a workshop, and I prepared some interesting activities for you as well. I hope later on you can enjoy it. And yeah, I guess we are old friends, so I won't introduce myself again. But just in case you forget me, so that's why I'm still putting there. So for today, we will talk about, first one is how to identify the battles. And the second one is understand how to develop the criteria to choose battles. So because actually why we want to talk about our battles today, because for sure, like after the pandemic times comes, and there is a huge question. It's not just for each entities, but I think as an organization, we are always trying to think about the answer for how to adapt or innovate to new ways in developing the leadership and keep organizations running healthily, right? And of course, according to some data that we can see, for example, our financial data and our exchange operations data, and also the initiatives that we are having right now from all of the entities, we can see there is a huge progress compared with the last year, when now when last March, the pandemic, it just started. And but of course, I think right now, because you are going to transit your term to the next generation, and actually there will be also another huge mark, that how the post-pandemic world will be look like, and how we will still develop the leadership in the later times as an organization. So I think this is the moment that we need to have the collective power to discuss it together between MCP, current, and also elects. So why battle today? Of course, since we are you are still having around 150 days. And I see there was a quote from Prayog is writing to you that was very sweet. It's talking about how later on you can, on your position, what are the things that you can do both from both current and also elects, how we can actually continue those kind of conversations that you were had in the last year, and how we can continue the organization is not distracted by other options, or it will be having the very huge changes after a new leaders come. So how we can continue those kind of legacy will be the major battles today as well for you guys to figure it out. So I guess you have been seeing this for many times, which is the 3 major focuses that AI was going to be focusing on this year, which is our people, our impact, and also our finances. And this is also going to contribute to at least the impact for more than 5 years later on, right? So the question that I would prepare for you guys is that, because we all know if we want to achieve something bigger to really overcome these global battles, then how each entity can play their own roles in here. And also how AP, because this is the region that we have a lot of innovation power, and we have a lot of, we are not the region that gets most of the impacted from the pandemic times. So how this region can actually utilize our strengths in terms of contributing to this kind of direction. And also, are we fully aware regarding what is each single project, so what are the activities or scope that each entity can carry on? So for now, I have a question for MCP current, and for elects, all you need to do is just to react. So for MCP current, I would like you to answer. One is, what is your entity's battle from last year to now? And also any projects that you see will be aligned with global battles, or you will suggest the next thing should be continuing, and you can just type it in the chat. And for elects, once you see your predecessor's answer, you can just give a simple mark on your camera. Like if you are giving a heart, it means that we will continue. But if you are giving a hands raise up, which means you are still thinking, like you are still hesitating whether we should change our battle or not. Yeah, so are we clear? MCP currents, let's go. Try to spread your power and influence in current space. Wow, Phoebe from Singapore. Their wild important goals is already coming up. You are taking from the plan, right? That's very cool. So your successor, you can start to react, whether you want to continue it or not. Okay, we are having EWA Innovation Partnership from Australia, stronger national portfolio, better membership experiences, improved entity governance. From Philippines, we have entity development, external relations, expansion, quality community impact from Malaysia, financial sustainability. Karen loves money, right? That's what I assume. Just kidding. Okay, so diversifying BD portfolio into two, piloting IVPP. Oh, I didn't know we have an IVPP for AP. Member engagement and development as a priority. Membership experience and development from Cambodia. Amazing. So do we have any elects here? I see Eliza, Pakistan, Bangladesh. Okay, elects. Okay, I see Malaysia will continue. Good job, Travis. Who else will continue? Okay, Cambodia will also continue. Who has any question? If you are going to put a raise hand, then which means you are still having some questions. Okay, so for people, for those speeches that they didn't put any reaction, for example, Afan, since when you become Bangladesh? You are Bangladesh MCP? What? Okay, Sri Lanka, amazing. So these people doesn't want to show their any opinion. Probably they are confused. So predecessors, you can pay more attention. Yeah, Wing, I'm watching you. Same as me. Cool. So I guess there will be more conversations that you can still continue after today's space. But since this is just a heads up of today's space, and later on we will see what we are going to have, okay? So regarding, this will be always the question, because when we are talking about the global battles, then we are actually talking about our roadmap, our strategy, and also our projects, right? And I remember this will be usually the questions that from when I was in the regional manager, then we always ask how clear that each projects or initiatives they work on are contribute to support the strategic plan. And also, why should we care about how these efforts will fit into the vision as long as the project is funded or the project resources are allocated? So these are the major questions that we will ask. But however, we will also hear a lot of responses. For example, after working for a quarter, my MC members, they still don't understand what is the relationship between my job to my goals, to the organization goals, aka Indonesia. So that's some conversation happens in their replanning. And also same as my MC experiences, like at a certain point, we were confused about how our individual projects that each MC members are working on will be contributing to the organization goals. And also, some people will always confusing that why we are having so many priorities. And then under the priorities, there are so many projects, and each projects, they seem to have some relationships, but we don't really know, or the synergy conversation doesn't really happen in the normal daily life. And in the end, the projects are just separated and the people are confused. And it seems that oh, MC team, every year they are doing so many projects, but in the end, there is nothing changes. Yeah, so that are some confusions that we were having. And also, I want to tell you, this will be a major focuses that you should solve as a MCP. No matter from current, you should work on how to give on the great feedbacks and also share your learnings from last year, how you manage those strategic plans and also your entity priorities. And as elects, you should know that how later on when you are going to evaluate the outcome from the planning, then what will be the answers that you are going to give to offer to your MCs. And also the second one that I want to share with you is about the leaders make wrong decisions and leaders don't make choices. Regarding for the battles, every year we can see there are, when we are reviewing the entities plan, at least most of the time people will have around 6 or 7 projects at the place. And then a lot of times the project, it will seem that very similar from the last year. I'm not saying that, of course, every year you should do different things. But what I'm saying here is that before you make any decisions, do you actually really consider the efforts and also the resources that your people have, especially in the current moment? Most of the entities are decreasing your MC positions, right? So, but the projects that you are still handling are the same amount of the projects that you were having in the past. Then does this make sense, or does it still being realistic for you to do that? Because in the end, our major goal to solve those battles is we are going to make those projects happen. So in today's space, we want you guys to think about how later on we are going to choose our battles wisely. And of course, this will be a very huge question mark, because regarding talking about the decision making, when we are developing our criteria, there is no perfect criteria for us to understand and also for us to evaluate. And also for different types of the context or the different priorities, maybe they will also need different criteria. So how we can choose our battles wisely will be the key content that we are going to figure out today. Amazing. So regarding for the planning process, I believe you are being very familiar with all of this kind of prioritization metrics, right? So before that, I want to let you to do a self-evaluation. So for current, you can share how confident from 1 to 5 you are with your product and strategy prioritization output. And for elect, how confident from 1 to 5 you are in preparing the product and also strategy prioritization process later on. So you can share in the chat room. 5. Whoa, Bangladesh. Amazing. We have a lot of currents. They are so proud of themselves. There's no humble in your dictionary, right? But I'm happy to see AP people are rating yourself super high. That's a very cool learning from you. Okay, amazing. So most of the people, they are, so for currents, I see people are like 200% confident on their output. And then for most of the elects, they are giving like lower scores normally. Okay, so currents, you know what you need to work on. And I hope today's session can help you something. Okay, so I want to know that what are the common points in this prioritization framework? Like we have a lot. Probably you are using different frameworks as well. Some people are using like efforts and also the value. Some people are using impact and risk. And some people are using so many different factors or criteria. So what were the common points that you were seeing from here? Okay, so we got an answer from Travis, decision-making factor. That's cool. Anything else? So Travis is the KOL in the MCP group, right? Like you are representing the whole MCP group. Amazing. Cool. So I will start to share from my perspective. So first of all, it's the clear battles. Actually, if we are looking into the prioritization framework, it doesn't really support you to clarify what is your clear battles. And also sometimes the criteria itself will be also confusing, right? So the goals of the project needs to be very clear and also measured. Otherwise, when you are going to do the prioritization later on, maybe different people will have different opinions on what exactly this project is for. So if you are having this kind of issue, then later on when you are going to the prioritization process, you should be very clear and also be mindful about this. And second one is same as what Travis just shared. They all have the prioritization criteria. And if we review a lot of frameworks, especially using in those strategic prioritization framework, then you will usually see there are two main parts. One is strategic importance, like basically how these projects or how these measurements will later on focus on the values or the impact of the organization goals. And the second one is regarding for the implementation, how much efforts that we should actually put in terms of the implementation. So that's why today we are actually having the practicing time for later on for you to discuss about how later on we will have the process to come out our focus product and how later on we will develop the prioritization criteria as well. So ideally, a prioritization method, they should fulfill few criteria, a good thing, okay? The first one is it should be a collaborative process that involves multiple team members, stakeholders, and depending on the framework, even the customers. So I know that most of the planning process that we were having right now, it's like, yeah, we are having some planning days, like 3 to 5 days. And then we have a brainstorming process for the strategies, and later on people do voting, and yeah, that's our focus, right? If you are doing so, can you type 1 in the chat? So if you are also actually putting some partners inputs or your customers inputs, then if you then you can put 2 in the chat room. So let's see. If you are just doing with your MC teams, like you are not even conclude other stakeholders like board of BOAs or your LC members, just put 1. But if you are also conclude like customers, partners, LC members, BOAs, you can put 2. Amazing. So we have a lot of people are putting 2, really? 1 for planning and 2 for replanning. Amazing. Then good job, AP. We are doing a very huge progress compared with when I was in regional manager. That's good thing. So elect, please continue what your predecessor has been already working on that. Make sure that you should actually, when you are going to make some decisions, you should collect some inputs as well in advance, coming from external perspective. So I think in AI planning, something that was really great is that AIBD, they will share a lot of inputs like what customer needs or what will be the things that later on can strengthen the partnership between global partners and also our product. So that's something that I think you can definitely take forward. And the second one is the framework that you choose should give you actionable results and information that can help you to drive your product strategy forward. So what does it mean? Which means that because a lot of time when we are putting the rate or scores, right? Actually, when we are going to give that score, like people are not really based on some quantitative facts, or we are just based on some data. But a lot of time when I was seeing or when I was experiencing those kind of planning process, a lot of people, we are just putting on our own instinctions or our assumptions. So later on, then when we are going to evaluate those activities, or we didn't even break down a lot of activities under those projects, then it will become a problem because we don't even understand how much efforts that we need to put on those projects. And then the third one is it should motivate a team to position their prioritization reasoning in terms of how each idea contributes to the greater goals. So I'm not so sure, do you actually like how in the past your process is being looking like especially when there is some projects, some people giving extremely high score and some people give extremely low score. Does your MCP or you will actually raise up the conversation that, hey, we have very strong different opinions, in this part, like how later on we should, and then you encourage them to share about where does their perspective are coming from. So I've been sharing some entities planning, and what I've seen is most of the time people will just take an average score and then we just make the decision because we want efficient, and it becomes more obvious or more common in the virtual planning days because people want to make the process faster. So make sure that before you make any decisions, you should always encourage your team to speak out what do they think and how what to, and also always to check whether people are always thinking from the same perspective, which is from organization overall, not just talking from their own function background. And the last part is the prioritization method should push your team to get rid of the idea noise. What does this mean? I'm not so sure. Do you have this kind of experience? For example, like working for 1 month or even during the planning days, like discuss for a few days, and then in the last day, some people raise up some questions. Hey, why don't we do this? La la la. So that if you have this kind of experience, then probably what you can review and what you can think about is that when we were having those prioritization spaces, are we being very clear about what is the principle? Like what was the base before we make any decisions? So probably your people just forget that. So your job as an MCP, I think it's very important for you to always remind them to keep doing that and let them to keep reviewing those principles and criteria, whether making sense in the current context. Cool. So now you can see this is a very common framework that's in the past we were using for the product prioritization, right? So I want to know how many of you were using this in last year when you were doing product prioritization. Anyone is using this one? No, we didn't. Amazing. Then what did you use for choosing the focus product? Okay, this awkward silence. Coin toss, gut feeling. Amazing. Thanks, Prayer, for sharing, but with your question mark, which means we are also not so sure. Amazing. So that's the thing. Like we are not so sure how the prioritization was being made. Okay, we weight our certain factors and took a mean score. That's great. Cool. So if some entities you are using this, then of course, I think this is a still great framework that is very simple to use. And also it will give you some like strategies. Oh, we have currently used this one. Yeah, and later on, like in different blocks, they will also tell you what are the strategies that you can put with for those products. But however, this is not the method that I'm going to recommend you to use it today because of course it is very simple, and then it's only have 4 categories, which is very easy for people to understand as well. But however, there are a lot of limitations as well. For example, we are separating the products because like we are treat them as very, very different products. But right now, if we review the products that we have, for example, the E1 initiatives, BPP, internship, path remote, and also GV and other BD products, la la la. And then we can say actually a lot of them are quite connected with each other. Like EWA it is supposed to be the funnel of our ELD product, right? So if we are using this, then we are actually ignore the connection among the products. And the second one is there are a lot of like they were asking your question, like for example, how do you think about the market share or market growth of the product? And then the problems of getting those kind of data will be a little bit tricky. So I think in the past we were using this in mostly for the product prioritization in the past. So that's a point that I want to highlight here, that when you are actually choosing the framework, there are a lot of prioritization framework. But something that you need to think about is always to check on the pros and cons of each framework and think about where we are going to get those kind of data. So is it feasible for us to get it? Cool. So for today, I'm going to introduce you a framework. It is called RISE score. So it is compared with the previous common framework, then it is more scientific, and also the data is more easier to get as well. So in terms of the RISE of the first R, it refers to the reach, like how many people we are attracting, or how many people they will come to the funnel, or they will use this feature with a given time period. So the examples, of course, you can change what does that mean for reach. For example, in here, you can put customers per quarter or transactions per month. And the second one, in terms of I, it means that the impact. So the reason why we are putting impact here is actually compare with other business, right? We are putting a lot of efforts on highlighting how our products are delivering the leadership experiences. But when we are doing our product prioritization and how we connect our product with our organization goals or our visions or your entity visions, we don't usually to see the connection between it, or we don't usually to evaluate how different products are offering different kinds of the impact or experiences on it. So you can actually also check from here, like for example, how much will this feature affect the conversion rates, or you can think about how is the NPS from it, how we can actually impact our individual users. So this is something that you can also check. And then the third one is about confidence, because I'm not so sure, like usually when we are doing product prioritization, we are mainly evaluated by the results part, right? For example, how much performance is, how much money this product can generate for us. But we are not usually to check how confident our people are about those products. Because you need to understand that I think for Isaac, we will need a lot of passion to make something happen. And then those kind of confidence, it's you cannot just ignore from it. And then if people are not confident, then most of the time it will be harder for us to make something that we want to see, right? And also in here, the risk for the product is also something that we can ignore, because for example, definitely the physical GV will have higher risk compared with other programs right now. But we don't but if we are not conclude this and we are just simply evaluate the volume of the product, then we are still ignore some facts that we have to think about. And then the last part will be the efforts, which is very common, but I think something that is very interesting for you to prepare some data or some references, that how much of the time that we should invest on some products. Because I think it is easy for you to get some data regarding financial resources that we are putting on the products, right? But we don't really know, for example, if you want to develop a new initiatives on EWA, or you want to develop a new product with BD, then how much time that usually it will take. So if you can have those kind of reference, then probably later on when you are going to do the prioritization process in the planning, it will be also more feasible for you to carry out the results later on. So that's the formula of it. But because I'm not really good at math, so I don't know how to explain the logic behind. But I think if you are interested on that, or if you think you can also customize based on this formula, I think that's your freedom, and just to do it by yourself, or consult some externals to make your product prioritization framework to be more comprehensive and also evaluating based on facts. Yeah, so that's the practice that we are going to have later on. So you can see the final output, it will be looking like this. So you are rating for different areas for the different types of the products. And then so MCP, current, and also elect, you will have like spaces to discuss with each other. And then later on, you are going to get a RISE score. But of course, this is just a practice. So you should not expect that you are going to finish the product prioritization in 10 minutes. And it doesn't really make sense, right? But I think something that you can discuss and also think about is, first, since a lot of people like current team, you have already choose your focus product, then based on your expected outcome from those focus products, and also based on those criteria, what are the criteria that later on we should start to collect, and also we should start to evaluate in the next team planning. So I think that's the meaning of today's space. Both of you should discuss on how those criteria are making sense for your entity, anything that you want to change, and then later on this when we are going to prepare those process for with the next team, MC team, what are the preparations that we need to do between MCP current and also elects. So of course, the pros of using this method is that first of all, this will be more specific, measurable, and also scientific and relevant. And second one is it will be allowing us to quantifying our level of the confidence of each these qualitative and in those kind of methods. But however, in terms of the cons, first of all, it doesn't really take dependencies into account. So which means if people are giving very extremely different scores, then because they are taking average numbers, then that will be an issue of this framework. And the second one is estimation will never be 100% accurate, but I think it's fine for this because other framework is also having this kind of limitations as well. But we are trying our best to make sure the facts that we are giving are based on the data or facts that we were had. Yeah. And also some disclaimer, important disclaimer, when we are mentioning focus on GV in today's context, it means that you are prioritizing risk mitigation of existing approval that you already have or change management plan to stop GV approvals. So if you have any question regarding this, please approach your RMED and also your regional directors. But if later on, for example, if you are prioritizing GV, then by default, we will assume you are using this context. But of course, if you are having something else, then make sure that you are going to communicate with your regional managers as well. Yeah. So right now you are going to have 10 minutes. And then if you go to this link, Cici, please help me to send this link into the chat. So you will see a folder and then you can copy the sheet from it. And then you can put into AP folder as well. So that's how it looks like. So you can just check, oops, copy and copy. That's interesting. I think Europe has been using this. So let me check one. Yeah, but I think you can just take, like, you can just copy from them and then make sure you are going to give a name for your spreadsheet. And then you can try to give the number of each for the product. So for example, in the reach, we are talking about how many customers will this project impact over a single quarter. So it can be how many people are still coming into your funnels right now. And it can be actually going to be converted into your real customers. And then in terms of the impact, which means like how the conversion rate will be looking like. So you can also give a score in there. And confidence. So here I give like two. One is about the confidence, like we are optimistic on the reach and also we can make it happen. Or and also the confidence regarding the risk of the program. So for example, if it's 100%, then which means you are very confident there is no risk at all. But if you are giving like less than 20, then which means there will be huge risks. And then later on, you can just take an average score in between. And then in terms of the efforts, you can check like it will be like the total amount. And then you can just rate from 1 to 5. Yeah. And then later on, there will be a formula to calculate for you regarding what it will be the right score for it. Yeah. So are we clear about this practice?
Connie, so
yeah.
for those that entity already have a prioritized product, just now you give us a suggestion, right? Like, can you repeat it again?
Okay. So for people who already have the priorities, first of all is you can review your product based on those data based on the criteria that we are giving for you right now. For example, you can review the reach, the people that are coming into your funnel, the conversion rate, and so on. And then later on, you can discuss what anything else that we should have regarding the criteria that we should start to prepare from now.
Yep. Okay. Thanks.
Amazing. So Cici, can you open the breakout rooms and then people you can join? Okay, the space sounds very interesting. People are laughing. Is the process very fun? Okay, yay. So for now, I will give you a very, very cool activity that later on you will feel how strong the collective power can be look like as a region. So since you have been already reviewed some of the criteria and try to give some scores, then I want to know for current, how did you do the product prioritization in the past? Which criteria you found it's useful in your planning process or prioritization process, and what suggestions you would love to give your successor when they are going to do the product prioritization. And then for elects, since you are going to prepare the product prioritization basis, so what are the preparations or data you should start to let your team to prepare? And of course, all of the details in each like RICE, like all of the things you can actually define by yourself. In the framework itself, you can define it. As I say, you can define the customers come to your funnel. You can define it as the financial transactions are happening in each month. So you can actually try to define it by yourself. The framework is free to customize. So you can think about, yeah. So now we can start. I will give you around 3 minutes. The music starts and then you can type in the chat room. Cool.
Nobody here knocking at my door. The sound of silence I can't take anymore. Nobody ringing my telephone now. And oh, how I miss such a beautiful sound. And I don't even know how I survive. I won't make it to the shore without your light. No, I don't even know if I'm alive. Whoa, without you now, this is what it feels like. Without your love, without you, I drown. Somebody save me, 'cause I'm going down. And I don't even know how I survive. I won't make it to the shore without your light. No, I don't even know if I'm alive. Whoa, without you now, this is what it feels like. And I don't even know how I survive. I won't make it down the road with one headlight. No, I don't even know if I'm alive. Whoa, without you now, this is what it feels like.
Hello, 3 minutes past. Do you still need more time? So I only see how one is sharing. I will give you 2 more minutes and please type into the chat room.
I want to write 1,000 songs for you tonight, in case I'm not.
Nobody here knocking at my door. The sound of silence I can't take anymore. Nobody ringing my telephone now. Oh, how I miss such a beautiful sound. And I don't even know how I survive. I won't make it to the shore without your light. No, I don't even know if I'm alive. Oh, without you now, this is what it feels like. Nothing to hold but the memories and frames. Oh, they remind me of the battle I face. Without your love, without you, I drown. Somebody save me, I'm going down. And I don't even know how I survive. I won't make it to the shore without your light. No, I don't even know if I'm alive. Oh, without you without you now. This is what it feels like.
Okay, amazing. I see a lot of great answers. So first of all, I think there are something catching to my eyes, which I want to highlight. So first one is that I think for the people that you were probably you were narrowing a lot of product portfolio and then you will try to explore a lot of products at the same time, then I think definitely this year will be the time for you to check the outcome from the products. And then you should probably review the resources that you are putting there. How is the ROI from the products as well? So I think this is something from Japan, they were sharing it. And also I think a lot of entities are actually putting a lot of comprehensive data and also resources, but make sure that when you are also putting there, you are giving the exact values on it, on the framework. It's not like, how to say, in the past we just give a rank, but you can think about how exact the numbers are looking for and then give a specific value to equal to the data that you are putting there. And then also I think Karan is sharing something interesting, which is the prioritization should always consider both internal and also external factors. And then, yeah, so we should always stick to both of it. I think that's something. And then later on, I think yesterday when I was delivering this session to Europe, there was also one point is very interesting, which is talking about how right now we should start to prepare the data for it. So I think if you both current and also elects can align those kind of data that later on you will use in the framework, it will be greater than you just start to evaluate in the planning process itself, because you still have 1 quarter to do the operations. Yeah, so that's the space for this one. And again, when we talk about the focus on GV in current context, it means that you should prioritizing to decrease the risk and also the existing approvals. So regarding for the next step is actually to make sure that we are going to have more conversation regarding what exact data or what exact criteria you can put there. I know like Karan was mentioning about, yeah, of course, a lot of frameworks are very subjective, but I think all of the things, because they are developed by human, and then when you are choosing some areas or evaluation factors, it is already become subjective. So I think what you can think about is how we can try to make sure that when we are putting some criteria or the values on it, we are going to make sure we are covering as much as the areas that a product should be evaluated. So for example, when we talk about strategic importance, it can be talk about business growth, scope, profitability, market, and also learning or development opportunities itself. And when we talk about implementing the initiative solutions, it can be not just about the time or the resources or the financials. It can be also considered about the implementation leadership. Is our team are fitting the implementation leadership style? For example, your strategy needs a lot of agility, but right now evaluate your team. Do we actually, or your commission, are we actually agile enough to do it? So there are a lot of different aspects that you can evaluate. It is more than what we are always talk about, like those kind of resources, marketing channels, brand perceptions, You can also think about other parts of the true challenges that you will be facing while you are going to do the implementation. So this is an external examples that I took from a company when they are going to do prioritize for more than 100 strategies. So you can see, first of all, we can see inside of the criteria description, it must be very clear and also related in terms of the KPI of the strategy. So when you are defining your own prioritization criteria, you can think about based on this product, what are the exact things that I want to achieve from it, and what will be the KPI or data it is feasible for us to collect from it. So later on, when you are moving to the replanning, when you are going to review whether your prioritization it's making sense or not, whether the change management, when you are putting some more focuses on the new product, it is happening or not, then you can also always going back with those criteria and data to check. And regarding for the criteria value, so you can see they are identifying, for example, the improvement over run rates, and then it is all related to the business growth and like those kind of very specific stuff that you can evaluate in the later on. And the same as the ease of the implementation. Yeah. So do you have any question regarding for this part, how we should identify the criteria description and also the value for it? Okay, if you don't have any question, can you wave in the chat room? So we can move to the next part. Okay. Amazing. So people are moving. Cool. So in the end, a great prioritization, I will always recommend you to put in this format. I see some entities are doing this, but some entities also don't. So why we were suggesting you to put that, and also even whenever you have your strategy scope, I will recommend you to give them different colors to categorize those different strategies. It is because when you are putting in this kind of format, then you will see how connection between the different strategy, because sometimes when we are doing prioritization, it is if we just review on the scores for different strategies they get, then probably we will just eliminate some important strategies will actually connect to other parts. So that's something that I would really recommend you to do it after this planning process as well. So for now, you can continue your conversations that you were having because you were doing some prioritization for the products, right? So for now, we are going to put some prioritization criteria for the strategy. And of course, if you want to continue the conversation for the product, you can always do that. So what is the expected outcome? You can find this page in the same sheet that you were just opening right now in the sheet 2. So in here, what you can do is, let me just give you an example. Yeah, so for example, you want to evaluate regarding the ease of implementation, you want to evaluate the implementation readiness. And regarding, for example, you want to focus on how the financial resources, especially for the budget, to get the job done. So maybe when you are defining the value, like if it's 5, then maybe it can be done with the current financial resources, like less than 70%, or it can be done, but it will take around more than 70%. And then the third one is we will need resources from outside. So this will be the examples and the output that you can discuss with your predecessor or successor. And if you don't have people here, then you can try to have an individual thinking time and bring this conversation later on with your predecessor or successor. Are we clear? If we are clear, CC, you can open the room and this space will last for 15 minutes. I will share this news to the people. When they come back, I'm going to share, this is the thing that makes me feel happy today.
Thank you.
Okay, so come back. Welcome back. For the people who come back early, I will share you something, which is Tony is the oldest one in this room. I mean, apart from MCP, probably someone will be older than him. Maybe Karan, Uncle Karan must be older than Tony, I guess. Okay, amazing. Cool. But anyway, I am younger than Tony, so which makes me feel very happy and energetic for this session. Cool, we are going to move on. Yeah, so I hope you are having a great conversation and later on you can share what you found in the process, which with each other. But before that, I want to give you some highlights. I think this is something that the only thing that can be done by MCPs, but of course, if you can find someone is also good at this in your team, then for sure you can encourage them to do that. But you should be accountable to make these things happen. The first one is alignment is the foundation. So I think it's super important for you to, after you're doing the prioritization and figuring out what is your battle, then you are always seeing the connection, no matter from this year's battles connected, how does it connected to the previous year's battles from other MCs? And also you should connect and always check on how the current initiatives that we are having, how it will be connected with each other. Because imagine, for example, if let's say the PA, EVA, and also Lao, they are losing the connection, like seeing how the LDM review will be impacted on the other areas of the projects, then we are fucked up, because LDM is the core of every project, right? So that's why we are always keep a lot of conversation between us and also Aziz to see how later on we should adjust our focuses later on. Because if everyone is going to do some innovation, or everyone is going to move on some progress, but they don't understand how different projects will be connected with each other, then later on will be very dangerous. Then people are just doing things for their own sake. And the second one is there is no right projects. From my perspective, working efficiently to complete projects successfully is more important than completing the right projects. For example, like if we check, I think as elects, maybe what you can do is to take out in the last 5 years, what is the MC projects or MC plans? How does it look like? And how many of them are actually being implemented well? And how many of them, what is the outcome from the projects? And then whether they are actually repeating themselves, because I see a lot of projects, we are doing the same thing every year. So think about, regarding for those things, like probably you are just always doing, improving, upgrading, like Karen said, you are improving the quality of the exchange. Of course, that will be our ultimate goal. But think about how later on you can ensure your MCs are actually working efficiently to make all of those projects happen. And of course, you can have more than 100 projects in the place to do the prioritization, but try to simplify it and pick the important criteria. Don't make the process to become super complicated. Always think about what is your important goals. And to win the battles, there are some call to actions for the elects. First of all, it's conduct a comprehensive product review based on the criteria you developed for your entity. And I think in this part, we would love to have a lot of support from current team as well. How those data was being developed, or what were the criteria that you were using, what would be your suggestion for the next team. And then you should finish your evaluation before your MC planning. Like you shouldn't just send them a prioritization framework in the planning itself, and then people start to check on the data. That will be very inefficient. And then adjust your MC structure and ensure your team has a clear message for LCs to follow. So as I said before, because probably you are working on different initiatives, and then some are connected with each other, but some are not. But LCs might be very confusing about then what is our focus, then how they will choose the focus. Because if you as an MC also struggling at choosing the focus, then probably this will be also the frustrations that your LC will be having. So think about how you will support your LCs to do the prioritization as well, based on your MC direction. And then ensure TM has a clear recruitment strategies and structure to support the new focus on the program if there is any changes. Because since the next year will be the year that to review all of the innovations that you had in the last year, then I think TM should also start to work on some evaluation or research. You can try to develop some questionnaire or conduct some qualitative researches with the current memberships to understand how JDs are actually effectively support your new focuses of the entity, and always be open to the changes. And I think if current team, you can deliver a great transition and help them to check their prioritization framework, criteria, then I think it will be much more better to continue our success as well. Yeah. So in the end, I want to give you a message, which is something that I personally feel very related to when I was lost in the daily operations, because I can imagine that MCPs, you are going to do a lot of management work, right? And probably most of the time, your work is going to talk about like checking the goals, checking the dashboards, having the conversations, solve the team issues. Maybe this will be take the majority of the time that you are as an MCP. But probably when you are actually losing your direction and also doesn't feel very motivated in terms of everything that you are doing, think about what will be the most important thing that I can do that would impact tomorrow better. So it will can always remind your goals back and reminder what is your battles back as well. So in the end, in the checkout, I want you to think about, in the beginning, you were rating yourself mostly as for like 4 or 5 in the process. So right now, I want to give you another round of self-evaluation, like how confident from 1 to 5 you are in the later product and strategy prioritization process. So in terms of current, how confident you are in making the recommendation, and for elects, how confident you are in making the space happen. So you can type in the chat and let's see. Tony, this is the time for you to keep your eyes on. Okay, we have current, Indonesia, Vietnam, super confident in giving recommendation. Amazing. Oh, Japan is interesting. Alex is having 5, but current is 4. Masaki, you should do better job to improve yourself and give good feedback later on. Okay, so we have 6 from Philippines. Okay, so people, Ali, I'm not so sure it's Ali or alive. Yeah, so MCP elects from Philippines. She is super confident. So if you have any question, approach her. Maybe Masaki is ready to leave. Amazing, cool. So we are still having like most of the people are 4 or 5. That is very cool scores that you can give, and I'm super happy for you are giving that score. So in the end, we still have around 3 minutes. So I want to hear, I will give 2 mic, and then you can share what have you learned from today's space. So 1 current and 1 elect. Who wants to go first? Maybe someone from elect. Okay, Philippines. Since you are getting the highest score.
Oh my gosh. Okay, you know, that was just kind of a joke. But yeah, I just learned this was something that we could have done more deliberately in the current MC term, since I'm a current MC VP right now. And like one of the things that we felt that we could have done better is like really make the milestones. So it was a nice reflection space. And actually for my MCVP elections, I'm making the applicants do something like this. So they're kind of doing half of the work already. So yeah, it was really great space. Thank you for this.
Thank you so much. Amazing. That's a very cool thing that you already start from now. Haha. Other entities, do you feel some pressure? Okay, so now we can have one more from current team. Who do you want to point? Not the last chance, but last chance with me in the current term. Who wants to share? Who wants to shine?
I can share.
Okay, go, Cassie.
Okay, I don't know, but I feel like this session was amazing because from those 2, I don't know, 2 times practice, rise score and strategy prioritization criteria, just making me, you know, like looking back to all initiatives that we have, and then on how we prioritize our product, and also another initiative that we have, to see if we are doing the right things or not. If it is not, so how we can redirect to the right things that can support the overall, you know, like a vision of the organization. So I think I had the best time with my successor also as well, to see it again and again, and then start the overall process within my team. So I'm excited to have like another meeting after TLC, and then see again and check again our, how do I say, overall initiative that we have. So thanks, Connie.
Thank you so much for the sharing. Okay, so although we have limited space in here in sharing, but I remember that I always love you, and then please make sure you are actually having the follow-up conversation, because I believe prioritization is the master skill that as an MCP we need to do. And then we shouldn't just do it in a random way, and we shouldn't just do it without understanding the logic behind, and then we shouldn't just continue to do what we already had before and we never review whether it makes sense or not. Yeah, so that's all for today. Thank you so much for today's space, and I really enjoy to see you in here as well. So thank you so much. Bye bye, people.
Thank you, Connie. We'll come back to AP anytime. Yeah. Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much. Bye. And yeah, so people will have the 2 hours break. You can have your dinner or lunch or yeah, any snacks. And also make sure you take some rest, because in the evening we'll have a partner. It's a partnership day. So make sure everyone will be there.